Welcome to the Silhouettes of Success podcast with your host, successful entrepreneur, broker, and business mentor, Amber Weitzer. Because success comes in all shapes, sizes, and styles, the Silhouettes of Success podcast is shining the light on industrious women with a collection of curated conversations of intentional inspiration designed to inspire your heart, ignite your mind, feed your soul, and gift you with actionable insights directly from inspirational, everyday women who've shown tenacity, grit, and grace, having taken on the challenges in their lives and business and won. Remarkable, down-to-earth, and relatable, Amber and her guests will share with you uplifting and extraordinary real-life success stories, motivational ideas that just might help spark something within you. With the deepest desire to serve you, help you grow so you can begin to shine the light that will illuminate your very own silhouette of success. So, let's get to it.
Hello, and welcome to the Amber Weitzer podcast, Silhouettes of Success. Our VIP feature guest is a 2004 graduate of Texas Christian University, cum laude with distinction, and a 2007 graduate of the Catholic University of America, Columbus School of Law in Washington, D.C. She has an impressive legal background, which we will let her share with us in a moment because I don't want to miss out on anything. She's a very active community volunteer and enjoys spending her free time traveling with her husband and 3 children. They have a rescued Rhodesian Ridgeback named Sophie, and there sounds like there's some stories there, and she loves animals. Silhouettes, please help me welcome Candace Sandifer to the show. Hello, Candace.
Hi there, Amber. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, it is fantastic to be with you today. So thank you. And we are excited to have you share your Silhouette of Success story with us. So once again, welcome.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I'm excited to be here. I really am.
Super. All right. To help illustrate the shaping of your silhouette of success, and I teased a little bit about it in the intro, let's go ahead and have you share your story by talking a little bit about your background with the audience.
Sure. So I met my husband at TCU in 2000, and we started dating all through college. And when I actually got accepted to law school up in Washington, D.C., it's a funny story because I'm just a kind of person who lays it all out there. And I remember sitting with him and I said, well, it's May. We're about to graduate. I am going to Washington to law school. I had just completed the previous fall a internship on the Hill. I was with Senator John Cornyn, and so I'd worked in Congress. I had had a taste of the city. I knew I wanted to go back. I mean, I took my LSAT in Washington. Like, it just everything felt right. You know, it was like I was going to live in my own West Wing episode. And so we're sitting at lunch, and I said, "What are your plans for this relationship?" And he was like, "Oh," and I said, "Because I just need to know where we're going." I mean, at the ripe old age of 21, I was like, that's just what I need to know. And he said, "Well, I mean, I was going to tell you in a couple weeks, but I'm taking a job in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, because it's 90 minutes from DC. And so I knew at that point that, you know, we were going to work out because he was following me to law school. And he did. He proposed Labor Day weekend, my first semester of law school. It was absolutely wild. You know, culturally, people tend to marry a lot later up in the Northeast. And so when I came back from Labor Day weekend with a ring on my finger, all of my fellow students were like, "Are you insane? You're going to get married?" And I was like, "Yes, I am. I already know this is my husband. I know it." And so it's a funny way to describe, but that's how we got up to DC together, and we ended up staying there for 7 years. And after I graduated from law school, I worked for the Attorney General of the District of Columbia. And actually, I was an assistant attorney general representing the DC public school system. So I worked in special education litigation, which is funny. Every time I even try to shorten that phrase, you just can't, because if you leave some of it out, it doesn't make any sense. But so I handled due process hearings for the District of Columbia, and I represented the school system. So it was an interesting job. It was 100 miles an hour. It was a baptism by fire. My second day of work, I was literally handed a case file, and they said, "You go to trial at noon." And I went and I won. I was flabbergasted. I couldn't believe believe it. It was a wild ride. I had 2 senior attorneys with me that day, and they were like, "That never happens, Candace." And I was like, "Okay, well, I like this job." So I ended up doing just about 100 hearings in my first year. And some hearings are 15 minutes and some hearings are 5 days. It's truly, we don't really call them trial, but they're effectively like a trial. And so I was able to really build my technical skills in that position in terms of litigation. But then we started having babies. And so I started working slowly, transitioning to working from home. And I changed the best thing about having a law career is that you can do anything with a law degree. And really and truly, I tell people all the time, if you're interested in becoming a lawyer, I can talk to you about the 97,000 ways you can use this degree. So I switched completely and I started doing estate planning. So very small when my babies were little, I was doing wills for friends. Everyone has been there. It's your first vacation after you've had these babies of yours and you love them. And then you maybe are a week out and you're like, what if something happens? And we're on the plane, and you think, oh my God, we need a will. I need a will. I need a will. What am I going to do? Like, I want to make sure my kids don't go to the wrong person. So that's how I started to transition. And, I won't give you the whole story, but it's really interesting how I switched. But I started with a background of very much in DC. And, I wanted to be a white collar criminal prosecutor, if I'm being honest. That's where when I was in law school, I wanted to do that. And I just completely switched. So it's an interesting story, but here we are.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So many things are coming to my head. Bullet points. I'm writing them as fast as I can. One of the questions you started to answer, and you pulled back a second. So we're going to maybe pursue that if you don't mind.
Sure.
And one of them, the questions I was going to ask you is, what compelled you to pursue that career path of the estate planning? Because what you were doing previously, as you mentioned, with working for the school system, just an enormous heart for humanity. I can't imagine what that would have been like, in everything that you did in DC. But you started, so we now know because of the little ones, that you started the estate planning. But what was that shift you were going to talk about? How did that happen?
So this is such an interesting story. My parents went to get their estate planning done after my dad sold his company. And so they were blessed to have the opportunity to retire very young. I mean, my dad, I want to say, was 50. And they went to an estate planner in Dallas. And my mom came back from that meeting and she said, Candace, I know, because I believe at the time I was actually either clerking or working for the AG's office. But she came back from that meeting and called me and she said, I think that in the future, you should go into this line of practice. And she said, I'm going to tell you why. She said, as a woman in the room, there needed to be more women in that room because so much of what was said, spoken and unspoken during that meeting was directed towards, my dad and, sort of it had, the male gaze. We all talk about the female and male gaze right now. It was so male centric. And she said, and the truth of the matter is most of, people we know, successful men are backed by successful women and, women help make the world turn. And she couldn't have been more correct because as I have learned in this career, so often if you have a husband and wife team in that room and you're looking to do estate planning, whether advanced or not as complex, a lot of times, that wife is in the driver's seat. Whether she's saying anything or not, she is in the driver's seat of that. And so she said, I just think you have the personality for this. I know that you have the temperament, and I think that you would be a fantastic advisor for both individuals in the room. And it wasn't a knock against the attorneys or the law firm. She still is friends with this individual attorney, and in fact, so am I, because I'm my parents' executor. But it was just an interesting conversation. And she said, it's just a place that I think in practice you would do really well, and I think women would do well there too. And so we so often do not necessarily take the advice of our parents and we think, okay, thanks for the input, mom. But it really affected me. And I said, okay, well, I'm going to look into this. And the more I looked into it, is part of this work is transactional. And what is great about transactional work as an attorney is that there's a start and there's a finish. And I don't really have to communicate with my clients unless they need me, and until the time comes, as it were, or if they need something else that may not be related to estate planning, because I actually do other law as well with this. And I love that it is an area of the law that gives me a work-life balance because it is so hard as female attorneys. It's so hard as women and mothers as a whole. And so I really do have a pretty phenomenal work-life balance.
What an amazing and keen observation on her part.
Right, right. It was
Uh-huh.
great.
Yes,
And it
yes.
really is her. Like, she is the reason
Yeah,
I sort of started thinking about estate planning because I would have never thought.
right. Oh, wow. Well, we owe her a debt of gratitude for sure. That she brought that back to you. That's great. Oh my goodness. And the transactional side of it has that project management feel to it.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Yes, yes. So it sounds like you also have quite a bit in looking back, of course, at your graduation and all those great things. Some discipline. Are you self-disciplined? Is that natural? Is that something you had to work at?
That is a good question. I would say that if I could go back and speak to 14-year-old me, I don't think she had any idea of what she was capable of
Mm.
with discipline on her side because I was not necessarily the high school student that was straight A's. I was a cheerleader. I really enjoyed that. I liked the social aspect of it. High school for me was fun. I did not have a lot of thoughts towards the future beyond I knew I wanted to go to college somewhere, right? And in fact, I looked at University of San Diego because I thought it would be fun to go to college by the beach. Like that's the
Uh-huh.
kind of person I was at, freshman, sophomore year. But, it's funny, it all circles back to Washington. So my senior year, I got to go on a trip called Close Up, and it is an opportunity for high school seniors to visit the nation's capital and to participate in like not a mini UN, but sort of a mini Congress. There's lots of programs like this now, and it really changed my life. I had an opportunity, believe it or not, to visit my future law school. I had no idea it was going to be my future law school at the time. Looking back, I laugh at the photos. We took pictures in front of the basilica that I graduated in. I mean, wild, right?
Wow.
So it
Yes.
was a formative trip. My civics teacher looked at me at the end of it and she said, "You belong in this town. This is where you should go." And so, I mean, she was phenomenal. And yeah, that trip changed my life. And it was the track that got me there required such intense discipline because in order to even get into law school, the grades are not going to be what they were in high school. The grades are going to be so much better. And so I was able to completely change my perspective and really the drive when you really, really want something, you will do it. It will happen for you if it's something that can be achieved through measurable, attainable goals. So I knew I had to make straight A's. So I got on the dean's list for 6 semesters. I knew I had to have a certain LSAT score. So I took 2 prep courses and I beat the LSAT score I wanted to have. I was working at night and then I would go to LSAT class until 10 p.m. and then I would come home and I would study and I would sleep and I would do it again. It's just that, and that's what it does for you. That sort of discipline takes you then through law school itself, because you have to be so disciplined to get through law school too. So,
That's outstanding. Goal high achiever. We'll go ahead and add that here. Goal setter, high achiever. Okay, so I need a quick time out on something, and I just, you and I pre hopping on this recording call, and again, it's just all out there and transparent. That's just my world, anyways. Ultra transparency. But I have to say, I make a small list, and it's just little fun phrases or words that I might gather if I don't really know the guest, on a personal level, and I know you from afar. And I wrote down wild side because I figured because you went out of your shell, or maybe with the Dancing with the Stars, and we'll talk about that in a second. But I have to tell you, my lady, it was meant to be, just like you're talking about reflecting back on those photos on that trip, because you've now said wild, twice. What are the odds of all the words that I could have picked out? And now you've said it twice. So I always get goosebumps, because to me, it's about timing too. And we were meant to be together today for you to share your story. Again, so it's just another note of gratitude for you being here and sharing yourself with the audience and sharing your story. We talk about looking back, and when we see you or successful women and we get inspired and we are hearing components of your story, what would you say, best practices or something that you'd like to share with the audience that might help motivate them in hearing everything that you've gone through? The alarm clock goes off. And your workday begins. Are you more structured? Do you have a routine? Are you more spontaneous? Because I'm getting a mixture here now. I'm hearing about the cheerleader, and then I saw the dancing, and now I'm hearing the goal oriented. I'm like, wow, you're like everything. So, hi.
Yeah, I mean, if you like, it's so funny. So the Enneagram, I don't know if you know
Yeah.
that, but I'm a 3-wing too. So I'm kind of all of it if you think about it, right? So it is. I am not the person, and I just don't think this will ever be me, but I aspire so deeply to be the woman who's up at 5, gets the workout in, reads the devotional. But I just can't. I mean, parts of me just can't do it. And so when I wake up in the morning, my coffee has been pre-brewed, and that is critical for my success. It's gone off. My kids are typically showering, getting ready. I will get their breakfast ready. And then what a huge part, because I did stay home with my kiddos for a while and work from home, even prior to the pandemic. I mean, it is critical that I take them to school time and pick them up from school time. So I have been able to structure, and again, this is the work-life balance that has been so critical, I think, to my success. Because if I felt like what I was doing was somehow hindering my relationship with my children, I just wouldn't do it. And so because you all know, everyone knows that when you have a family, they do become your first priority. And it can be very, very hard to make sure that you are there for the kids. Does this mean I attend every class party? Absolutely not. There's no way. Does this mean I get to go to a couple field trips? I mean, pre-pandemic, we had field trips. Remember those?
Yeah.
It was awesome. I did get to go on a couple of those. And really for my boys, who had me more as a focused stay-at-home mom when they were in their early grades, and my daughter has not, right? So it's very interesting seeing the differences in how they're growing up. Like my older son, if I had not been at his class parties in kindergarten, I don't know what he would have done. He probably would have collapsed. My daughter she is me. She's a reincarnation of me. She's like, Mom, you don't need to come to the party. I'm cool. I'm like okay, but I want to, she's so
Can I?
yeah, am I allowed?
Do you need me there a little bit?
Yeah. So I think a day for me is I start it and it's family. So it's getting the kids out the door, making sure we've got everything. That is not always a calm experience, but we do our best. I posted, I think on Facebook a couple weeks ago, like a picture that I have on the door that was like, kids, you have to ask yourself, do you have everything? Because I cannot be your personal assistant. I just can't.
Yes.
And so we are doing so much better at that. We're getting into the school year, but yesterday I picked my son up from band practice and he forgot his backpack in the school. So it was just like immediately drive around the circle and go right back up because he had homework. And so he is also, funnily enough, he and I share a lot of those traits. So after I drop off the kids, I typically hop into the office. So the way we've structured our work week, my paralegal is my right-hand woman. Her name is Emily Gibson, and she is very much a critical component to success for myself in this law firm because, and I'll talk about this in a little bit too, surrounding yourself with the right people is more than half the job. I mean, it just is. So she structures my week in that Mondays and Fridays, I try not to see any clients in the office. This is to enable me to be able to do networking, which is critical for our law firm. It allows me to work on my files, move my cases forward, move my clients forward, get some time in the office, making sure I'm caught up on emails, caught up on court filings. We'll get sometimes a flurry of filings on Friday afternoon, evening. I'm not going to look at those. I will look at those on Monday. So it's just a catch up day, Monday and Friday. And then we try to Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday meet with clients, get our signings done because we have to have witnesses for the requirements for a will, things like that. So that's how we structure our week. And I'm telling you, having those bookended days, it's not a day off by any stretch of the imagination, but days that are meant to be set aside for lunches, whatever kinds of networking groups that I can join if I need to attend those, making sure I get my Chamber of Commerce stuff done. I'm on the board of directors, and there's a lot that we do in the community to connect community to business. So try to get all caught up on that as well. And so bookending my week with that intentional time to do both things really feels like a great way to start and end your week successfully.
That's amazing. I want to throw it a different way for a second. There was something in there that you said, but this is probably a two-part question. Looking back, and it could have been recent, has there been a specific point in time, event, or key situation in your professional life that forced you to take a monumental shift within your business or career? And if you can think of something
Mm-hmm.
to share, positive or painful, how did that situation and going through that help you grow?
I will tell you the biggest shift in my career occurred in 2019. So, and actually, it was the end of 2018. So, my daughter was in pre K and I had been working alone. I had my own law office out of my house. I was doing, like I mentioned, that very simple, non complex planning for families. And there were two things that happened. One, my husband started traveling a lot more than he used to, and he had a shift in his job. And I remember at one point, the job that he had moved to, there was some concern that they were going to eliminate it. And I started to panic in the sense that I am an employable person. I have a degree and I have, the ability to have a full-time job. And if I needed to, I was concerned, would I get one? Would I be able to re-enter the workforce successfully? Because having a gap in your resume, even if it is filled with, all the volunteering a stay-at-home mother does is out of this world. It is a job. And in fact, I treated it as such on my resume. So I listed every board I had been on part of, every volunteer, community event I had volunteered for, all of that kind of stuff. But I knew that at a certain point I needed to start doing other things as well. And so the job ended up working out. And in fact, he's switched within the same company positions, I think 4 times since then. But at the time, I just remember thinking, I need to have something that I can do because we have 3 children. And at the time, they were in private Catholic school. I was like, and I want to be able to continue to have this lifestyle for our kids, and not only just to provide the education we wanted and to, you know, it was one of those things where I was like, I need to go to work. And I had been craving being with people again, people in my career, like-minded individuals, people I could bounce ideas off of. No man is an island, and you become a better litigator, a better attorney when you have other individuals to bounce things off of and speak to. So I started my job hunt that I thought, I really believed in my heart, was going to take the better part of a year. And it actually only took me 8 weeks to find a job. And it's the job I'm in now. So I became an associate with Bill Hauser. And then at the end of 2020, he offered me partnership. And so I became a partner in the law firm less than 2 years later. So it was wild. It was just, and the story of how, I'll just go ahead and tell it because it's so good. I had looked at jobs to apply for online through a number of different, the Texas Board or the Texas Bar Association has postings. And then, of course, there's just like everyone else, Indeed and LinkedIn and all those things. And I had been striking out a little bit because I was just basically applying for anything. And then Bill posted that he needed an estate planning attorney, but the Hauser firm at that time, and still is now, is a boutique wealth law practice. So individuals and families who have, a higher net worth. And so myself, having only been really practicing in non-complex planning, in my brain, I am not qualified. There is no reason to apply for this job. There is no way I could do this. There's just no way. So then I look at his website and I'm just looking around. It's like, oh, this would be a dream. I would love to learn more about high net worth planning. I would love to learn more about, business consultation and representation. I would love to learn more about all the things that he focuses in. And I was looking at the attorney profiles and stuff like that. And I was like, well, he's got some young attorneys, so maybe he would be interested in me. So, but then I let that lay fallow, I want to say, for 2 weeks. And then finally one day, after finishing an episode of Suits on TV, I literally just sent him my resume. I mean, the worst ever. No cover letter, no introduction of myself. I just uploaded it on Indeed and thought, oh, well, he's not going to call me. But okay. 36 minutes later, he called and said, I'd love to bring you in for an interview. I just received your resume. Do you have some time next week to come in? And I was like, absolutely. And
Wow.
so, yeah, I went in for an interview. And during that interview, he said, there's no reason for you to commute into Dallas. You have a community in Colleyville. You have a client base in Colleyville. He said, the next time you come in, bring me some, potential lease spaces, and we'll get you somewhere. And he completely set me up. So I had an office starting that March, 1.5 miles from my home. I was able to drop my kids off at school, go to the office, and then the kids would come after school to play while I got work done. It was the most incredible, God-driven transition ever. I cannot, I still get goosebumps thinking about it. And it felt like the heavens opened. I said, I would like to get back into work. And God said, I agree with you. Here's the job.
You professed it and you were being obedient in that moment.
Yeah.
And you just
Oh,
sent it, right? Wow.
isn't
Oh,
that amazing?
such a great story. Oh my goodness. Yes, goosebumps is right.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Oh, wow. Okay, milady. I have a plethora of questions, but we are going to respect the time here, and get to some good ones here and let you share a little bit more. When do you feel your greatest sense of satisfaction?
My greatest sense of satisfaction is
Yes.
when I know that I have served others well,
Mm.
whether that's in volunteering or in my job. When I have the honor to serve families when we're talking about uncomfortable things such as death, and also when they come in after a death in their family has occurred. So I deal with a lot of people who are in different stages of grief. I deal with families who are trying to anticipate the needs of others in the eventuality that they may pass. And I think my greatest sense of satisfaction with them is when we have finished the planning, or we've gone through the process of the probate or the administration of an estate, even if there's been no court hearing. And they look at me and say, thank you so much. You made that so much easier than I thought it would be. And that is really, if you're going to do this type of law, or if you're going to be involved in this industry, you have to have a heart for serving others, because a lot of it, you'll never bill for, you'll never, you won't necessarily see some of the other things from it, except for the personal satisfaction that you helped someone and you made them feel like they could do it, and that it would all be okay. It will
Mm.
all be okay. And that's really what I love about this job.
It's beautiful. It's the sincerity is so absolutely oozing authenticity from you in that. Oh my goodness. All right, milady, we all crave great resources that might help inspire or uplift or expand our minds. And like I say, sometimes get us through the day.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, do you happen to have a favorite book or resource or anything that you'd like to share with us?
Sure. So I know you asked this before. So the first thing I ran to was my devotional, and it is called Savor by Shauna Niequist. I love to cook, and I'm a Christian. I'm a practicing Christian. And so what I love about this devotional is it's called Living Abundantly Where You Are As You Are. And Shauna has peppered this with recipes and small moments. So every day, I'm telling you, this will not take you more than 90 seconds to read. And it's from start to finish, you know, a phenomenal way to start your day or end it. And I have loved this devotional. I have had it for 4 years. I can tell you I've probably actually only been through it twice because, like I mentioned before, I aspire to be the mom that is up there at 5 a.m. spending her quiet time. And that is just not necessarily me all the time. But if I have a moment, I will open this up. And it has given me not only fantastic opportunities to really delve into my faith and some personal reflection time, but some really good recipes too. There's a curried chicken salad in here that I love. Like there's some other stuff. I'm trying to think, I have it in front of me. Oh yeah, she does a summer salad. That's fantastic. But yeah, the curried chicken salad tea sandwich that comes before April 18th, you got to do it. It is just delicious. And so, anything that can give me and both feed me well spiritually and physically and literally, I will take it.
You nourishing our souls.
That's right.
Awesome.
That's
Okay.
right.
Okay. Well, April 18th, I'll make sure and make a fun note on that one. Oh, Candace, it has been so wonderful visiting with you today. And as we begin to wrap up and keeping the promise to share intentional inspiration, do you happen to have a piece of key go-to advice that resonates with you or that you'd like to share and pass on with our audience?
Oh, absolutely. So this is something that we have said, both my husband and I, and it is twofold. We tell it to our friends, our loved ones, when we have had an opportunity for people coming to us with advice, and now we tell this to our kids. And it's a very simple phrase, and it is the truth. It's show me your friends, and I'll show you your future. And another way to put it is, the Bible tells us that iron sharpens iron, and it has been something that we have tried to live with our lives. We want to be the friends that will help you sharpen your success. We want to be the friends that will support you. And we look for friends who will support us. And that doesn't always mean being yes people. It doesn't always mean going along with the crowd. Sometimes it means having hard conversations with friends and loved ones about where are you going with this friendship? Do you feel this person is adding to your life? And as my son is in his second year of middle school, we've had a couple conversations about that with our kids. Do you feel like this friend is a reflection of something, is a reflection of you? Do you think that's a good reflection of you? Do you think that this person is going to be a part of your success in the future? Does it mean that every single person that you interact with needs to be pushing you towards a goal? No, not necessarily. Some friendships are simple and easy, and that's great. But when you really want to dive into relationships, the people we do life with, it is really important that they're a part of your future. They're shaping your future. And so we always say, choose your friends wisely, because show me your friends and I'll show you your future.
Sage advice. Love that one. Oh my goodness. All right. Well, I don't want to cut this off, but I want to respect your schedule. So we are going to wind this down and wrap up. So, Candace, stage is yours. Where can our audience go to either find and connect with you or support you in your continued success? Feel free to share contact information, websites, or socials. It is all about you.
Oh, thank you, Amber. So we are at hauserfirm.com. So that's www.hauserfirm.com. And we serve clients all over the state of Texas. And our phone number to reach us in the South Lake office is 817 717 2700, and we'd be happy to bring anyone in for a consult when it comes to estate planning. If someone has recently passed away and you're unsure of the probate process and what needs to happen before somebody sells grandma's house, we deal with all of that. We also help entrepreneurs and business owners in terms of business formation, asset protection, and of course, succession planning. So we're here. We like to say plan, protect, and prepare for all of life's eventualities and speed bumps and speed humps along the way.
Perfect. All right, Candace, again, it has been truly amazing
Oh,
talking with
thank you so
you.
much. Yes, Amber, thank you so much. This was so wonderful. I really
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Well, thank you. We are so grateful that you were able to spend some time with us and share your silhouette of success. You are a genuine light and inspiration. So thank you again, my lady.
Thank you so much. You have a great one.
You too.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Silhouettes of Success podcast. If you enjoyed the show, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on all the new episodes. We are here for you and with you. We encourage you to share this podcast on all your socials and pass on the light to help illuminate another silhouette of success. To find out the latest ways to inspire your heart, ignite your mind, and gain actionable insights, subscribe at thesilhouettesofsuccess.com or connect with us on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. We're grateful that you've tuned in. Remember, you are exactly where you need to be, right here with us. This is the Amber Weitzer podcast, Silhouettes of Success.